12 Tips on using your freezer. Why you should leave a coin in the freezer before leaving the house. A freezer is your best friend, especially if you're only cooking for one person. Freezing is a great way to preserve food for a long period of time, and will help prevent a lot of food waste. Before you start freezing your food, there are a few things that you need to know. Watch our tips below for more information. 1. Always cool foods first. Never put hot foods in the fridge. Freezing hot foods will only increase the general temperature of the fridge or freezer and could cause other foods to defrost. 2. It's always best to freeze food at its freshest so that it will be at its best once defrosted. Never refreeze anything that has already been frozen. 3. Make sure your food is put in sealed containers to prevent freezer burn. This occurs when frozen food has been damaged due to air reaching the food. It is generally caused by food not being securely wrapped in airtight packaging. Freezer burn is not harmful but can adversely affect the food's texture and color. If a container won't close tightly, it's best not to use it. 4. Freeze food in realistically sized portions. You don't want to have to defrost a large portion of food when you only need enough to feed one person. 5. Frozen food should always be thoroughly defrosted before you eat it. Make sure that if you reheat the food that it's piping all the way through. 6. If in doubt, throw it out. Freezing doesn't kill bacteria. If you are anyway unsure about how long something has been frozen or a bit wary of something once it's been defrosted, don't take any chances. 7. Get your label on. It may seem like a hassle at the time, but unless you label your food you won't remember what it is or when you put it in the freezer. It only takes a few minutes but could save a lot of confusion later. 8. Defrosting is essential. Over time ice builds up in your freezer, and an icy freezer is an inefficient one. Make time to defrost your freezer at least once a year or more often if there is a build-up of ice. 9. What not to freeze. Not all foods respond well to freezing. Avoid freezing things like mayonnaise, yogurt, sour cream, as they can separate. Also avoid freezing fruits and vegetables with a high water content, such as lettuce and watermelon, as they'll become limp and soggy when thawed. 10. Foods that are great to freeze are foods like bread, soup and stew. 11. Defrosting and refreezing. This is best done in the fridge, especially if we are talking about meat. Put frozen food on a tray at the bottom of the fridge and leave overnight or during the working day. Avoid refreezing raw meat or fish that's been defrosted and anything else that has already been frozen, unless you have cooked it again complete. 12. When preparing for a vacation, everybody has a list of things they check before leaving the house. Most people double-check their luggage, make sure the windows are closed, and turn off all the lights, but very few check their freezer. But your freezer can be affected by power outages while you're away. Defrosting your food and freezing it back up before you come home, leaving you none the wiser. While it's safe to refreeze raw or cooked food that has been previously thawed in the refrigerator, it's impossible to know how long your food has thawed while you were away. In fact, food that seems perfectly fine to the naked eye may contain harmful bacteria. Simple freezer coin trick: next time you leave the home for a long period of time, place a cup of water in the freezer overnight. Once the water has frozen over, place a penny on top and pack your bags. When you come home, check on the cup. If the cup is unchanged, the food in your freezer should be fine. The same goes for the food in your refrigerator. On the other hand, if the penny is at the bottom of the cup, then the ice and food has had the time to completely thaw. This is a sign that you should clear your freezer. Lastly, if the penny is the middle of the ice, then your freezer was only out of order for a short period of time. This means that most of the food should still be safe to eat. In any case, if you're not sure whether food is still edible, throw it out. This tip is great for vacations, evacuations, and even day-to-day life. After all, if you don't check your freezer often, it's impossible to know how safe your food really is.